So this is pretty odd. So this is from MSNBC. It looks like Morning Joe Scarborough from Morning Joe, and Chris Matthews from Hardball linked together to give their analysis on the 2020 election. Now, it's quite bizarre analysis coming from Chris Matthews, and it obviously seems to be the case that Chris Matthews is not a fan of Bernie Sanders, to say the least. So he's going to make a really interesting comment here. Let's hear it out.
You know Pennsylvania, you know that Youngstown, Ohio voter, you know that Scranton, Pennsylvania voter. Does Bernie relate to those voters in a way that, say, other Democrats in the field may not?
You know, I don't think so, but I don't know. I mean, I think people are who are desperate to get rid of Trump will reach for any life raft thrown at them. I don't know. I'll just say I don't know about that one. I think they'd respond to Biden with a good running mate. I think they might go for some of the other candidates. My latest question is this one. It's sort of like the question pollsters ask. Who cares about people like you? And my question is a little more direct than that. Suppose you're lying on a road hurt. Maybe you've had something happen to you. You fainted, whatever happened. Which of the candidates would stop their car and get out and help you? Which of them? Ask yourself that question, and you got your candidate, I think. Because I'm not sure about all of them. I've been polling this sort of, I think Biden wins that one pretty easily. I think Elizabeth maybe. I don't think Bernie wins it. Do you? Honestly? Think Bernie would stop and help you? I'm not sure.
Well,
I know these are tough questions. They cut to the gut, but they are the question you got to ask about. Will this person help me when I need them? Because the rest is BS. It's all speech writing.
Okay, so I'll say, yeah, I think Bernie would help me.
You're covering yourself. Joe, you're covering yourself.
Thank you so much. Thank you. But I do understand, though, that...
This is why people are going to YouTube to get their news now. Literally because of stuff like this. On what planet does that pass off as legitimate analysis, journalism, news commentary, political commentary, any term that you want to use? I'm begging you to tell me in which, how this falls into any of those. How this meets the standard for literally any of those. You're talking about Chris Matthews over here talking about which candidate would help someone who's on the side of the road who needs help with their car. And it's a random thing in the first place, although it doesn't have to be, but his conclusion is the most bizarre to me. Why would Joe Biden help you, of all people? I don't get the inkling of that literally at all. If anything, Joe Biden is the fako. He's not going to help someone like that. Bernie is the real one, and moreover, Bernie's going to help people. That's his literal appeal. His entire appeal is, I'm going to help you. He talks about how, will you help somebody who you don't know, or will you support helping somebody who you don't know? Because as of right now, there are millions of people struggling, whether that be health insurance costs, whether that be just poverty in general, rent being too high, etc., right? I don't know those people, but I am more than willing to support a candidate who's going to help those people that I don't know. And so that's the whole appeal of Bernie. That's really what he talks about. And so I don't know where this analysis comes from. Now, Chris Matthews barely looks like he's even keeping it together. Don't even know how he's still doing his job as of right now. But he clearly doesn't like Bernie Sanders. And by the way, I just saw a question about honesty. And Bernie Sanders led the pack by far. I think he was the only one who was over 50 points in terms of a majority trustworthy/untrustworthy numbers. So he actually led the pack. Okay, and that included Trump as well, who I believe was at the bottom. But you've got to understand that that is literally the dumbest piece of analysis I've seen in my life, because the conclusion that he reaches is so far away from reality that it's truly mind-boggling. It really is. And in the beginning, I think Joe was trying to set him up for, like, hey, because this is a point that a lot of Bernie supporters make. Hey, Bernie Sanders has an appeal with Rust Belt voters because he's been anti-shipping away their jobs for literally decades, since literally day one, okay? And so he's trying to say that Bernie has an appeal to those people because he's been against shipping their jobs overseas. He's been against those free trade deals. And so he appeals to those voters, and that's how he's going to get it. And so for him to say, I don't think so, but I don't know, and then even mentioning the people who are desperate to get rid of Trump, You're going to lose the election if you think that way, because there are no people who are going to be like that. You can't bank on Orange Man bad to win you the election. That's what pisses me off. If you run an election that in its entirety is just Orange Man bad, and you're not running on any issues, you're not going to energize anybody, you're not going to inspire anybody to go out to, actually go out and vote. And so that's why Bernie Sanders is the candidate. He's not only is he anti-Donald Trump, he's anti-Donald Trump in the correct ways, but he stands for things. He's also authentic. He's honest. And everybody believes those things about him. That's why Bernie Sanders is the candidate to choose for President of the United States. Point blank. That is the reason why he is the best candidate to choose. So Chris Matthews' analysis is really horrible. And clearly he doesn't like Bernie Sanders. I remember in my last video about Chris Matthews where he says that Bernie's the front runner in Iowa and New Hampshire. I said, I don't know what his opinion is about Bernie Sanders. Well, it looks like we know now.